Hi, this is Kelly from thetruthinstory.com, and today I just wanted to do a quick, more of a first impressions of the Druidcraft tarot deck because I just got it in the mail today, and I have every intention on trimming this deck down, which I'm going to also include in this video. But before I took the scissors to the deck, I just wanted to do quick first impressions. I have went ahead and unboxed the cards and separated into the major, and well, it comes like this, and then the major arcana is on the bottom, so I just kind of pulled those out. But other than that, I haven't really gone through it. So this is the Druidcraft Tarot deck by Philip and Stephanie Carr-Gomm, G-O-M-M, and is illustrated by Will Worthington. And that's part of the reasons why I finally succumbed to purchasing this deck, is that one of my favorite Lenormand decks is the new Celtic Lenormand, which I will be having a review coming out. If it's already up, I'll link to it in the description box below, that I really love for Lenormand readings. And I thought sometimes a lot of times I like to pull tarot cards with a Lenormand reading. I've especially been interested lately in doing like a 3-card Lenormand reading, because that kind of gets at the practicality of the question, and then pulling a couple, even 3 tarot cards in conjunction that gets more at the inner workings of the question or the situation. And so I thought it would be nice to have 2 decks that were by Will Worthington to go together. So we'll see how that turns out once I get everything trimmed down. So this has been on my radar for a long time. One of the only reasons I haven't until now gone about and gotten this deck was that I have my very first deck was the Llewellyn Tarot, which is based on Welsh mythology, but it has a very pagan, Celtic, natural feel to it, and I kind of felt like maybe this would be a repetitive deck in terms of feeling. I tend to, because I'm not really buying decks right now for the sake of collection, but more because I want it to fill out some aspect of my reading deck so that I have a variety of things to choose from. So I'm kind of careful about which decks I choose to get, and I didn't really want something that was going to feel very repetitive to the Llewellyn deck. I went ahead and purchased a few days ago the app for the Druidcraft, because I was really on the fence, because what I realized was that, now you'll notice this is a small box. The Druidcraft Tarot, comes in 2 forms. It comes in a bigger set that has a full-size guidebook, and then it has this that is a smaller box, which I love, and it comes with just the cards and a smaller book. Well, I went ahead and got the Fool's Garden app for the Druidcraft Tarot, and I have another sort of a review about tarot apps that I'm going to be putting up, and will also link to in the description box once that's up. And one of the ways I'll use a tarot app is that if I'm really close to getting a particular deck and there is an app for it on my phone, I will pick that up, because then I can really look at the cards one by one, read the guidebook, and kind of really get a deciding idea about whether or not I want to get the deck. And so I was really pretty much decided to get it once I saw they actually had it with just the cards like this. So I got this off of Amazon for, I want to say it was $13, because it's just a smaller set. And the reason I did that is because I'd already bought the tarot app for $3.99, and that has the complete guidebook in it. So I don't need the entire guidebook twice. So that ended up working out really nicely. So I'll just do a quick little look at this now, and then I'm going to show you a little bit on trimming, how I'm going to go about trimming the deck, and then probably go through all the cards once they're all trimmed down and the colors and the images just are going to really pop. I've seen a lot of trimmed Druidcraft. In fact, I think that was one of the first decks that I saw trimmed and thought, wow, that made such a huge difference on that particular deck, was probably a Druidcraft Tarot. So here it is, the box. Here's a nice hard box, almost like the the Blue Angel, but it's very similar to the box that the Celtic Lenormand came in also, which is nice. It's a nice size box. I prefer this over a big box set. So it comes with a small guidebook compared to the guidebook in the full. Again, this is just basically just a card set, and this is their equivalent to the little white book. But I have to say, just from the quick look that I took of it, I really like, I'm actually really glad to have this because it's a really nice size, and I think it gives a lot of pertinent information. And then, like I said, I have the full guidebook on my phone, so I can always go there for that. But included with this book, I wish all little white books were like this, because this to me is fantastic. So there's some introductions about Druidcraft, about the meaning of Wicca and Druidry, because this deck is created by both Philip and Stephanie Carr-Gomm, as well as Will Worthington and I haven't done a thorough research into this because this isn't so much a review as just a kind of first impressions, but all three of them are actually practicing druids. And so, yeah, actually it says that right here. This acclaimed deck created by practicing druids. So it's very much goes off the basis of kind of the juxtaposition of Wicca and Druidry. But it seems to have a lot from what I had read of the guidebook earlier. There's also, they do pull a lot of, kind of pull the Western things in as well and make a really, because it's, so far, from what I've seen, it seems fairly close to, with some changes to the major arcana, but it seems fairly close, especially in the minor arcana, to the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is nice in terms of for reading. So anyways, it goes into a little bit about that, the inspirations, because they do talk about how they do take a lot from the Golden Dawn. So it kind of goes through all the different things that they have pulled through, gives us some basis of stories about Merlin and bards and things like that, cycles in the seasons, this kind of stuff. Then there's this really nice thing about section looking at the outer mysteries, being the minor arcana. And I really like how they split this. I don't know, let's see if I can go in so you can see better. But I like this diagram here where it shows the relationship of the major and minor arcana to the self. And so they have he's got a pentagram here, and they have the major arcana as the top point of the pentagram being the soul, and then you have air, obviously the sort of suits, which is thinking and intellect or the mind, and earth as the suit of pentacles, sensation or the senses, and the body as the body. Then they have water, the suit of cups, for feeling emotion or the heart, and fire, the suit of wands, for intuition or the spirit. So that I thought was quite interesting. Now in the full book, there is this huge diagram kind of showing the major arcana in the middle, I believe, then the minor arcana, and then the court cards. And I haven't looked at that really closely, but that's not in the smaller book. So that would be something in the full-size guidebook. Then it goes into the court cards, because a lot of people have issues working with court cards, which I'll be really honest with you, I've never quite understand why people have trouble with the court cards. I guess because I spent so much of my time reading fairly intuitively. I mean, I went through the whole Llewellyn guidebook, which is a very good guidebook, and I also had other resources, but I did read fairly intuitively for so long that I've never had too much of an issue with the court cards. But it goes through interpreting the court cards, the pip cards, goes through and gives you your sort of keywords with like the aces and the twos and the threes, the princesses. They do change, instead of the pages and the knights, you have the princesses and the princes, which I actually really like that. Then it goes right into the cards, and each card has half of a page. Let me see if that's the same even with the major arcana. No, the major arcana each has its own page. The minor arcana has half a page. But they give you quite a lot of information. We've got the keywords, we have the basic meaning, and we do have the reversed meaning. So between the two of them, I don't read reversals, but I do incorporate, because I believe that the card itself incorporates both the meanings and the reverse meanings are all together in the card, whether you actually physically read it upright or not. And for me, a lot of deciding what aspect is coming out, it has to do with the position and just the question and things like that. But so I do like, they have it lined out, and it seems to be given, even weight between the meaning and the reverse meanings if you do read strict reversals. So they do that. Then the, let's see here. Then so for this, for the major arcana, we have a message. So I don't have that. So each of the major arcana has a message. So with the Fool, the message is trust in your inner knowing. Life is an adventure, a journey of discovery to be enjoyed. So there's a message there. Then there's keywords. And then we have our keywords for the upright meaning and keywords for the reversed meaning. So I like how it's laid out. I think that it gives you quite a bit of information in a small space. I think the only spread shown here in the small book is the hexagram spread. So I haven't really looked at that too much because I just got this about half an hour ago. So that's the book. It's about the size of the cards, and exactly the size of the cards before I take scissors to them. And again, I think this is really handy, and because I have the guidebook in the phone app, I think this was a really good way for me to go ahead and get the deck. So here's the backs of the cards. We have a brown backing with like a Celtic, let's see if you can see that, but a Celtic heart knotwork that is reversible. The only thing I don't particularly like about this backing, which won't matter for me because they're going to be cut off, I'm not really fond of decks that put copyright information on the backs of the cards. I think it's tacky, and I don't think it's necessary. So that to me is annoying, but it is reversible if you use reverses and you keep it intact. They did put it on the top and the bottom, so it is reversible. Some of the cards already have kind of a little bit of funkiness going on with the edges, but again, that's going to be cut down. It's fairly thin for as large a card they are. It's pretty thin stock, and like I said, the edges kind of already have a little bit of something going on there. I should say, as I was just flashing this to here, and I will put a message on it earlier, if there is nudity in this deck. So if you have an issue with artistic nudity, you probably won't want to watch any further, and you probably would not be interested in the deck, because it does have some pretty entirely nude figures, both male and female. So what I intend to do with, this is a big deck. Let me see, I did bring out, so here is the Ace of Wands, and here's the Ace of Wands from the Tarot of the Hidden Realm, just because I had it out for a reading. So you can see this is a pretty good size deck. Now this is a nice size tarot card. I like this particular size of tarot card, but it's not a big one by any means. But you can see that it is definitely quite a large card, and quite a lot of it's taken up with a double border. So we have the white border that's around here, and then we also have this sort of stonework secondary border on here. And so the card itself, or the image itself, if I were to trim it just to the image, which I'm not intending to do, at least at first, would be pretty similar size to this if I trimmed it down that way. So, and a lot of people do trim it to just the image, and it would be very easy to do with this deck because the images are quite obvious what they are. They follow the Rider-Waite-Smith. There are, if it's a Five of Pentacles, there are 5 pentacles somewhere in the image. So this would be a very easy deck to pull down just to the image, and eventually that may be something that I do. I have also seen it, and the way I intend to do it is where you trim. I'm going to trim all the way to the image, but I'm going to trim right underneath this cream of the word. I'm going to leave the words on initially because I actually like how this card is, which basically is the same thing. It has the name along the bottom on a little bar, and then it has the image. So I'm going to repeat a somewhat similar with this because I find with doing email readings, so the majority of my readings are done through email, and so when I put up pictures of the spread and I'm discussing it, I think it's beneficial for my clients to be able to see the names of the cards so that when I'm referring to them, they can easily see what card that I'm talking about, even if they don't have a lot of experience with tarot cards. So I'm going to start with that. Eventually I may just go through and chop off the bottoms and redo the corners, but for right now I'm going to take the image and then leave this bottom. I'm not going to leave this bottom stonework. I'm going to go right underneath the Ace of the Wands and cut that off. So it is a big deck, and this is similar to me and feeling like I don't have. It must be even bigger, to be honest, than the Llewellyn deck, because this feels to me very similar to the size of the Llewellyn tarot that I had before. But when I cut that deck down to just this image, the image is about the size of a playing card. So these are clearly have made better use, I should say, of the size of the card. So I do like that. I like that the images are nice and large and vibrant, and I think, and I know because I've seen images of them, when you trim it down, these images just start to really pop. The colors do. So it's got it in, you know, I'm just going to run through a couple of these. But so we have the Ace of Wands. This is an actual hill, old hill, I want to say artwork, you know, where they've kind of gone in and made this image in the side of a hill, which I thought was really cool. That's an actual place the Guidebook talks about. One thing I did like about this deck is that a lot of my decks are very feminine feeling, which is great. You know, there's a lot of feminine power to them, which is feminine energy, I should say. And a lot of the images are females, which again, I particularly enjoy. But this one actually, if anything, I would say, and I haven't looked through it, but just from a quick glance through on my phone and things, there's almost possibly more predominantly male figures than there are female figures. And so that is also one of the reasons that I thought this had a very neutral to maybe leaning a little closer to male energy to it, which is something that I did need in my decks. Now, I believe the Hidden Realm also is a good one that has a very balanced male-female energy to them, both in figures and into the feelings of it. And so this one is got the same sort of balanced energy, if not pushing a little further, in my opinion, to maybe a more of a male energy. So that's another reason why I love the Princess of Cups. I think she's beautiful. So I'm not going to go through all the cards because I'll do that once I've trimmed them, but this is, the images are so vibrant. They did come across a couple, and I'll have to pull them out, but I did come across a couple that on the, I think it was in this is the deck that I actually like the minor arcana cards better than I do the major arcana, and I'll definitely go through the major arcana at the least once I trim them down. But there was one or two that I felt the artwork, that's beautiful. That's the cover art. I absolutely love this image. This is one of the ones that really kept catching my interest over and over again. Every time I'd see, you know, the box that was right on, and I'd be like, oh, I love that card. This one. Yeah, and even in this, it still looks like there's a little bit of where it looks fuzzy. I don't know if it's the printing. It seems to be more of a printing thing than it does the actual artwork. But I don't know that that's across all of them. There just seemed to be a couple that popped out. I do like the image of death in this one. They have changed some names, which we'll go over, and that's another reason I'll probably at least leave those labels on for a little while till I kind of get that comfortable with those. But they all make sense to the world. You know, this is a pagan druid kind of vibe to the deck, and so the name changes I thought made sense and worked within the theme of the deck. So there we have it. This is a Druidcraft tarot deck.